Hello, everyone. Welcome to our day 3 in Bootstrap mini bootcamp. We can start with questions if anybody have a question from the previous 2 classes. The previous 2 classes, we covered mainly the CSS components that come with the library and the JavaScript components. And in today's class, that's going to be the last class, which is third class, where we can put all the gained information from Bootstrap in an actual practical project. Okay. Let me share my screen and first walk you through what we're going to try to build today. So we're going to build this landing page. As you can see, we're going to use a navigation bar from Bootstrap library. We can use the grid system here to have 2 columns right next to each other. Definitely, we're going to use the bind component. We're going to use the form. We learned about how we can style forms. We're going to have multiple sections here for learning HTML and CSS, learning React. We're going to use the card component. We're going to also use the frequently asked questions or accordion component right here. Also, we're going to use some of the Bootstrap icons from the icon library that come with Bootstrap. And at the end, we have like a contact list and we have like a list item here. And we have like a small map. And to implement this map, we're going to use a little bit JavaScript here because we're going to get the map box map. And we're going to implement this scroll to the top button where you can click on it. It will take you to the beginning and you can have the navigation. You can navigate through the pages, see the instructors, and contact us section. So that's what we're going to be built today, and it's fully responsive in mobile devices. This is how it's going to look like. Notice that this image in mobile device is going to be disappearing. You have the menu collapsing. And of course, you have a footer at the end. So it's responsive web page. You can view in small screen devices, so you can inspect it actually. And you click right here. Let's see how it's going to look like in Galaxy S8. So this is how it's going to look like in Galaxy S8. If you select different type of devices like Samsung S8 Plus or Galaxy Fold, iPhone 12 Pro, this is how it's going to look like in that phone. So you can test your page, how responsive is the page in the smaller screens. Okay, as you can see, we're going to use multiple of images. I'm going to paste on the class channel the images folder that we're going to use. So if you want to work with me on this project as I'm developing it, you can have access to the images. Okay, let me close my page. This is our Bootstrap folder where we keep all the codes here. So I'm going to create a folder here. I'm going to call it landing page. Project. And I'm going to open it with Visual Studio Code. Can close the folder. In this folder here, I'm going to create an HTML file. I can call it index.html. And we're going to use images that I'm going to just drop here the images that I'm going to use in the project. I have an images folder. You will have a couple of images like the logo for Clarusway. And we have a showcase, which is, as you can see, the background is transparent for this map. And that's pretty much it. Later on, we're going to add the JavaScript file, but now we don't need it. That's only going to be for adding the functionality for the map. We can add a boilerplate right here. and give it a title, Clarusway Bootcamp. Make sure you have this meta tag. That's actually what's going to make your web page responsive for the viewport meta tag. And after that, let's go to Bootstrap. Bootstrap 5. Gonna copy the CDN. Can paste it here. Can do view or toggle. And also let me get the JavaScript bundle. And I can add it to my head as well. And let me put the attribute diff here. That means I want to load this JavaScript after all the components in my page get rendered or get loaded to the page, get loaded to the DOM. That's what is this attribute will do for you. And since I'm here, let me go to the icons and try to get the icon CDN. Since I'm going to use some social media icons, I can scroll all the way down, which I hate that they put it on the down. You have to go through all the icons. And now you can copy the link for the icons. Let me add the comments here. So this is going to be Bootstrap 5 CSS file. This is going to be Bootstrap JavaScript file. And the file one here for Bootstrap icons. Okay. I will give ID to the beginning of my page. And the reason for that, because let me render the original page again. That's when if I'm going at the bottom, I want to go scroll up. That's the beginning of the body. So you just add an ID to the body or the beginning of your page, and I can call it home. Next, we're going to start with the nav bar, which is going to be my first component to add. As you can see, we have this navigation bar. And you can reference the Bootstrap documentation, how to create a nav bar. Simply, I'm going to need a nav tag. And this nav tag, I'll add a bunch of classes to it. The most important one is going to be the nav bar. Next is going to be the text color. So it's going to be light navigation bar. So you need to add nav bar -light. That will make sure your text will be dark. Also, you can set the background color. So I want BG light. Also, I want to fix it all the time at the top. Even if I'm scrolling down, I want it to stay in the top. So you can add fixed top class. And I'm going to add small shadow to it. Shadow small. And now we need to, since we're going to create a responsive navigation bar, we need to tell Bootstrap when it should expand it. Like, as you can see in this example here, it's in the mobile view, but it will start expand once we hit the large screen here. And you can control that when you want to expand it to full navigation bar using the class here, nav bar expand, and you can expand the larger screen, medium screen. I'm going to expand in the larger screen. So just to see it, I'm going to add here, hello world. And if you open that with the live server, here you go. I have this navigation bar. Notice that automatically the text is dark. The background is that light gray, and it have like a small shadow right here. Beautiful. Let me close everything. Let me put it side by side. So instead of the H1, I will have actually a container, a div with a class container. And inside the container, I'm going to put a link. And this link will be my logo or my navbar brand. So I can have a link that every time you click on it should take you to the beginning of the page, which is the home. So hashtag home. This link, I'll give it a class navbar brand. And I'm going to put an image inside it. And this image is going to be coming from my images folder. And inside the images folder, you'll see there is a list of all the images. I'm going to select the logo and add the alt text or the alternative text just in case if this image failed to load. This text will be viewed instead. I'm going to call it Clarusway logo. And I can set the width. If you save that, you will see that the image loaded, but it's big. So you can add the width attribute to 50 pixel, and that will limit the width and height to 50. The height will adjust automatically to the width that we put based on the aspect ratio. After the image, I will have an H3 with the name of the page, like Clarusway Bootcamp. But notice that the H3, they're on top of each other. And the reason for that to happen, because H3 is a block level element. So it will take the full width. It will start from a new line and it will take the full width. To put them right next to each other, we have the utility classes. So we can display this link as a flex. Once you add it as a flex, the automatic setting for a flex to be in a row. So it will put these two items in the same row on the same line. Here we go. But we probably want to center this text here. So since we're in a display flex, we can align the items center, and that will put them in the same center line. Here we go. And that's our logo or our brand for the page. So we're done from that link. Next, we want to write the structure of the navbar toggler button that will appear in small screens. Anything less than a large screen, because we're going to expand in a large screen. Simply is a button that this button will have some class names, navbar toggler. If you save that, you don't see anything yet. And the reason for that, you have to put the icon inside it. And we can add an icon by the span and the name of the icon, navbar toggler, which is similar as this class, but you add dash icon. Here we go. Now you can see the button. Okay, good. We need to, that will use the JavaScript component, the data that we're trying to toggle is in a form of a collapse, because this is going to be a collapse navigation bar. So we want to collapse. I will set the target later after I create the links. So now I will create the links in my navigation bar, and they are the navs. Okay, you need a class that's called navs. And this is going to be the part that will be collapsible. When you click on this button, it will collapse the navigation bar in a small screen. So I'm going to create a div with a class collapse. And this is going to be the navbar collapse. Okay. Here, I'm going to start list my items. So I'm going to have an unordered list with the class navbar nav dash nav. So your list of icons is going to be navbar dash nav. You're going to start adding your list items, and each list item is going to be the nav item. And you add a link, and this link will have a class of nav link. So you see, starting from the list, it's the navbar nav. From the list item, nav item, and you have a nav link. And for the first one, I'm going to have courses. And I want to go to, I will add this later on. I will copy this multiple times. So I will have the courses. Next, I have the questions section. Then I have the instruction or the instructors section. And the final section that I have in this navigation is going to be the questions. Or actually, not the question, I already added questions. The contact us. If I save that, still this button is not working because now we have to connect this toggler with this section. And we do that by adding an ID. And we can call it navigation, whatever you put an ID here. And you have to connect it with data PS target. And we're going to target that section. So you put the hashtag navigation. And if you try it right now, you should see all your links right here. Courses, questions, instructor, and contact us. And if you expand the page, you'll see them right here. But I want to push them to the end of the page. To push them, it's very simple. This is your list of icons. You can margin, start them, or the margin from the start to be auto. That means it will take all the space and put it in front of these of this list. So once I save margin auto, you will see that they are be pushed on the other side. And these are my icons right here, or this is going to be my navigation bar. Okay, so we're done from the first part, which is the navigation bar here, and it's completely responsive. This is how it's going to look in mobile devices. Okay, later on, I'm going to add the href when I created these sections, but for now, I didn't create these sections, so it's fine. And that's for my navigation bar. We're done here for the nav bar section. Next, I want to show this hero section or the showcase section here, where I'm going to have an image on that side. So I could use either the flex box, or I can actually use the grid. The grid is based on the flex box. But let's build this together. So I'm going to call it here showcase section, or hero section, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to add a section. And notice that the background here is light. So I'm going to make sure that the background BG dash light. Text will be dark. We have a dark text. We're going to add a padding from all the 4 spaces, or from all the 4 corners, to be with size 5. And I want to center the text. And it will be centered. Yeah, let's keep it that way for now. I will need a container to put everything in the middle of the screen. And this container in small screens and up. So let me see in small screens how this is going to look like. Okay. So you see this text center? Text center, it's already showing text center right here. That's mean text center from small screen and up. But starting from a small screen, that's mean when I go a little bit out, I want the text to start from the left. How can I do that? You can actually use text dash from small screen and up. You want it to be from the start. However, if it's an extra small, because now this is an extra small and up, and now from the small, it's going to be from the left. That will make sure that only in extra small screen, you will have text center here. The same way, I want to have a flex container to put the image right next to the text, but this is only from small screen. So I can display from small screen and up to display it as a flex. However, in extra small screen, there's not going to be a flex container. And I want to align the items to the center, and I want to justify the content between that. I want to put the space between the image and the text. So if you maximize the page, all the space is going to be between them. Okay. Now this is the container. So the container should have only two child, one child for this column and a second child for this image. I can put the image right here, and the image, I will go inside my images folder, and is the showcase web P. And I can add an alt, like showcase image, and I will add a couple of classes. I want to make it responsive. You see how responsive is? If you increase the width, the image get increased. That's coming from a Bootstrap class called image fluid. So I want to set image to be fluid. So now if you take a look, here's the image. Good, and it's still going to be fluid image. You increase the width, the image getting bigger, you decrease it, it's getting smaller. Perfect. You can control the width. I want the image to be only 50% of the width, so it will be smaller. I want to have a padding of 3 surrounding the image. And in small screen and up, display small screen and up to be block level. I want to show it in small screen and up. But in extra small screen, I can do D none. Display none, that's mean an extra small screen, it's not going to show at all. So if I go in extra small, actually I need to save that. There we go, it disappeared because it display none from extra small screen all the way to the extra large screen. But I put a limit here. No, it's going to be only from extra small until small screen, because in small screen, I want to show it as a block. So once you increase the width here and you get to the small screen size, the image will start to appear again. Okay, that's for the image, which is the image right here. For this section, have multiple elements. Have the H1 or H2, have some paragraph, have the button. Again, since we're in a flex container, this flex container to have 2 columns, it should be only 2 child only. So I need to wrap everything here in this column inside a div. And I will start by an H1 and say the IT career of your dreams. Then I can add a break, line break. And after the line break, I will have start here. But notice that the start here was a different color. So I can add a span and say starts here. And if you take a look, I save. And now since I have this in the span, I can add a classes only to that part of the text. So I can add a class text danger. And now it's going to be turned red. Okay. Next, we're going to have a paragraph that will have this text right here. So I'm going to copy this text, paste it inside my paragraph. Here I have the text. I'm going to give it a class of lead, and you will notice that it will make the text font bigger and it will make it lighter. Here we go. I want to add some spacing between the heading level 1 and the paragraph. So I can use a padding to this paragraph, and the padding in the Y direction, which is top and bottom, let's say size 4. And I'm going to push the text a little bit down. There you go. Now I want to have this button, and we can have a button dot ptn primary, because that's the primary color, and I can make it large button ptn -lg and say start your new career. If I save that, here we go. And this is my showcase. And it's pretty responsive. If you go to like a very large, very small screen, notice that the image disappeared. It's going to be display none. Not only that, the text here, it's going to be centered. But once you hit a small screen, and this is the breakpoint here, that small screen, once I get to a small screen, the text is going to be from the start, and also the image will be displayed because it's going to be displayed from small screen as a block. So if I increase it a little bit, that's the width of a small screen. You start to see the image, and you see that the texts are aligned to the left. Any questions so far? Feel free if you don't understand any of the classes that we adding to ask me, or you can paste it in the chat if you have any question. So that's it for this section. The next section is the newsletter section here, where you have a small form input, and you have a submit button and title saying sign up for our newsletter. So we're going to start a new section here, which is the newsletter section. And we can start a new section. And if you open that, you will see that background, it's like a pinkish color. So let's see how we're going to do that. Let's first add the section. And by default, we don't have the color in Bootstrap, and that's fine. You can have your own custom CSS files here. So I can create a folder here and call it CSS, and add a custom style sheet, style.css. And I can add some custom classes. And what I want is that color. So there is a nice tool. It's an extension called Color Pick Eyedropper. So it will help you to get any color in any page, to get the exact hex code for that color. So I can get right here. It will tell me already that the hex code and the RGB value for that color. And I can click on it, and I can copy the color value here. And this is very nice if you're trying to, like, if you're working as a developer and somebody gives you some designs that want you to write the code for these designs, you can get the actual color values by using this nice tool or nice extension to the Chrome. So this is the color that I want. And I can get right here, create a class. I will call it PG main, which is not exist in Bootstrap. They have primary, danger, but now I'm going to create my own custom class, which is BG main. I can set background color to be that value. And I will also have the text main, where I'm going to set the color value to be the same color. Because if you take a look, we're not going to actually use it. We don't have any text color with that specific color. No, we're just going to need the background. But that's fine. I have two classes. Now I have this style sheet. I need to import the style sheet that I used. And it's very important to add the style sheet after the Bootstrap style sheet. Or in this case, it's not going to make any difference because there's not going to be any name clash with the Bootstrap classes. So I will add my custom CSS file right here. And I need a link tag and go to inside the CSS folder and the style.css. Perfect. And now I can use this class, which is background main, and that will provide you with that color. And if you want to make like a lighter color, you can hover over it and play around with Visual Studio. You can make it darker, can make it more transparent, and so on. But I'm going to stick with the same value because that's the page that we're trying to develop. So I'm in the news section. And in the news section, that's where I'm going to give the class BG main. That's the class that I just created. And if you add it here at H1, hello world, you'll notice that you have this background right here. Good. With that color, that specific color. I want to add some padding, 5. I want the text to be light. Okay. And I will have a container inside this section. And inside this container, I will have an H3. Let me open again the project. H3, which is going to say sign up for our newsletter. So I can copy that right here. And here we go, sign up for our newsletter. After the H3, I need to have an input field, and notice that this input field have the button attached to it. This is called an input group. You group the input field with this button. And the reason here, you want to use an input group because notice that the buttons will have a border radius here. But when you create an input group, there is no radius right here. It gets attached to the input field right away. So that's an input group. And to create an input group with Bootstrap, you need a wrapper with an input group class. And an input group, now you start grouping anything that you want inside it. I want to group the input field, which is text. And as you know from yesterday's class or class before it, to style an input field, just simple form control class. Now let's add a placeholder because we have a placeholder here. Enter email. There we go. I have enter email and it looked nice. Next, I'm going to add my button with the class PTN, with PTN-dark as a background. And I'm going to make it large button. Here we go. And I'm going to put the text inside it, submit. And I don't want this button to refresh my page, so I'm going to set the type to be button, be more explicit. It shouldn't, because it shouldn't refresh your page because it's not inside a form. We're not actually having the form for that. So it's not gonna refresh your page. Good. But I want to add some spacing between this H1 and the input group that I have right here. So I can add to this H3 class margin bottom with the size 3. That's going to be for extra small screen and up. If I save that, here we go, I got this space. But if I go to big screen, of course, we need to fix that because we want them to be right next to each other. So we can fix that by using a flex box. So in the container here, we can display it as flex, and that's will put them right away, right next to each other. So we display them as a flex, actually starting from a medium screen, because on a small screen, it's not going to look nice. Starting small screen, I want to show them as a flex from medium screen. So now this is small screen. Once we get to medium, they're now going to be right next to each other because the flex will take an effect right now. And by default, the flex is a flex row. Now I need to justify the content. And the reason you have the default that it will be stretched, the aligned items is going to be stretched. I want to make sure that justify the content will be the space between them. So justify content going to be between. And I want to override the default, which is stretching them, align items to be center. Now they are not stretched anymore. Perfect. Now if I expand my page, that's how it looks like. I don't want it to look like this. I want this part to be like half of the screen. To do that, I think how we can do that. Let me add a class here because I'm going to call it news input. I'm going to go to my, if I put news input, that's my custom class, and I can set the width to be 50%. And that will make sure it's 50%. Okay. But I want it to be 50%, not in all screens, because in extra small screen, it's not look nice. So I want only this to take an effect. And if you're familiar with media query, so I can set a media query. So at media, and I specify the minimum widths from 768 pixels and up. I want to make this class take to be 50% of the screen. So in a smaller screen, it's not going to take an effect. However, once the minimum width becomes 768, once I increase 768, now it's going to become 50%. And of course, the flex will take an effect. Okay, so now it's very responsive. As you can see, look nice in different multiple screens. I also, this is the margin bottom 3. If you're in the starting from medium screen, there is no need for this margin, right? You see this margin is still there, margin bottom. I only put this margin in case if they're on top of each other. So starting from margin bottom in medium screen to be 0. Now it's going to push it a little bit down. Okay, so that's it for this section. Now it's working perfect. And it's matching this section that we have right here. Okay, now we're going to start by this section. And let me see the courses, which is going to be the first section from our navigation bar. So the courses here, is connected with this link. When you click on this link, it will take you to the first course right here. So let's work on that. So I'm going to have a new section for the courses. I have a section and I can give it an ID, courses section. And the reason I'm going to give it an ID, because I'm going to copy this ID and I connect my link right here that the href will take me to that section when the user click on it. So when the user click on the courses, it should take him or redirect the user to that section. So it's like a bookmark in the same page. Okay, so I'm going to start with the courses section right here. And similar as I've been doing in all my sections, I'm keep adding padding 5. So I can add padding 5 in all the corners. I will add a container to push the content in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to use the grid system here. Notice that we have an image and we have some content here. Technically, we have 2 columns. So I will create one row, and this row will have 2 columns. So I can create row and column and another column. Okay, it's 2 columns I will need on my page. Yep. Let's start with the first content here. It's going to be the image. So I'm going to add an image tag. And this is going to be the HTML. And if you inspect, this is the fundamental image, PNG. So I can go to my images and go to the fundamental PNG. I can say HTML, CSS, course, image. Add the class image fluid to make it responsive. And now let's take a look. And here we go, taking half of the screen. Perfect. Now for the second column, we'll have this title, this lead paragraph, and just a regular paragraph. And then we're going to have a bind or small bind. So we're going to start with the H2 here. Learn HTML, CSS. Then I have a paragraph, the class lead, and I'm going to add some dummy paragraph. So I'm going to put lorem, dummy text. Then I'm going to add a regular paragraph. So dummy text. And then I'm going to add this bind right here, which ptn dark dot ptn let's not make small. I don't think this is a small bind. Can be more explicit here. It's a bind. I can set it to type bind. And I will say read more. And I want this icon here. And this icon is called chevron right. So to use Bootstrap icons, you place an I tag and simply give it some classes. The first class is Bootstrap icon, PI. And the second one is what describing the icon. So you can put PI dash, and you will see automatically, since I connected the Bootstrap icons.css, you will have a list here with all the icons available. It's called chevron right. If I save that, here we go. I see the bind with the chevron right, and you can see that both of them are 2 columns. But now let's work on the styling a little bit. So this container, look like there's no padding here. So I'm going to expect this container. Here where I'm adding the padding. The padding is not taking effect, you see, because I'm putting the P5 inside the ID. So this is incorrect. It should be inside a class. And in the class, you do P-5, and that's will add the padding. Here we go. We got the padding from all 4 corners. Now within the container is fine, but the row right here, I want to center this image to be exactly in the center. The row and the columns or the grid system using Flexbox, I don't have to display it as Flex. It's already been displayed as Flex. I can select align the items to be centered. Now it's going to center the image. And let's take a look at large screen. I want to put the space between them. So any space that they have to be between them. So you can see we probably have some space here. I want to put it between them. So I can justify the content or this content between. And now any space will be between these 2 items, if there is any spaces. Good, that's done. I want to show it can be more explicit that this is column in medium screen. Column medium screen. They will be the same size. So if you try to go to small screen, they'll be on top of each other. That means starting from small screen, we want to be 2 columns together from the medium screen. This is our page. There is some margin here to this bind. More than this, we want to add some spacing here. So we can add margin top 3, and that will push the bind a little bit down. Good. So now we finished this section. And now if you go here and you click in courses, it should direct you, right, or scroll you to the courses. Of course, right now, this is the end of our page, but later on when we add more content, it will scroll you exactly where this section is. So that's the first course. Now let's create the second course. Which is going to be pretty much the same. The only different, if you take a look, the image will be in the other side of the text, and the background is dark. So let me actually copy this. I can copy it down. So I don't need to add courses section again. I already added this ID up there. So I have 2 identical sections. And in this section, I want the background to be dark. Now that's going to have a dark background. And I want the text to be light. And now I have a light text. Perfect. I have the container, I have the row, same, align and justify, column medium. The only difference that you want the image. And this section, you want this section to come before the image. Or since you're using Flex, you can change the order of the child. So to change the order, you can go to Bootstrap 5 and you go to the utilities and you go to Flex and you can change the order. There we go. You can have order 0, order 1, order 2, and so on. And this is the third item because it's have the least order. Order 3, it's going to be the last one. So you can put an order and change the order using this class, which is order 0 and order 1. So I can set here for this column order I want it to become first, so I can make it order 2. And this is order 1. Now let's see if that, here we go. Since the image is order 2, which is higher than order 1, it's going to be the last one. Order 1 is less number than order 2, so it will precede it. So I was able to change the layout, and instead of having the image first, since I'm using Flex anyway, I was able to swap the text with the image. It was a very nice trick, but since I'm using Flex, I can use the order. Now, I want to change this title because the title I have here, Learn React. So Learn React, and save Learn React. And also the image right here, I want to change it. So I will go to my images and React image. And here we go, we got the React image. For this button, I want to change its background to PG Light. There you go. Perfect. And we were successfully creating these 2 sections. Clicking courses, it should take you to that section directly. Okay, so we'll stop here and take our 10-minute break. Any question before we go to break? About whatever we developed so far. But as you can see, I didn't write a single, actually I did a couple of lines of CSS. But imagine that if you have to write CSS for a whole, this landing page, that will be a nightmare. That will be, here it took us just 15 minutes to finish that, to create this nice navigation bar and this form and these section. As you can see, Bootstrap can be used for fast prototyping. Okay. If no question, I'll see you in 2 minutes. Okay, guys, so we're going to continue. Before the break, we finished the courses section. Let me start sharing my screen. We don't need this documentation anymore. That's what we got before the break. These two sections were describing the courses that Clarusway providing in this landing page, learning HTML course. And you have an image for that course, and also you have another image for the second course. Good. After the courses, we have this section which have multiple cards. And I'm gonna think this is like a support section. We're having multiple cards. I'm gonna give it a name support. You can name it whatever you want, because you're gonna get like a online session as a support. You're gonna talk to advisor, and you have a blog. So this is like a support section to me, which have multiple cards. So I'm gonna give it a section element with an ID support section. Let me actually forget to give you a live share link. Let me copy the Slack. Support section here, it's inside a container. So I can add a div with a class container. And then I'm going to have, we'll start a row. So I will add a row, because I'm going to use a grid system, because notice that there are 3 cards right next to each other. So I will have a row and now control how much column should take, like starting from large screen. Then I can be 12 divided by 3, each can take 4. 4 times 3, yep, that's going to be 12. Okay, so I will create a row and start with the first card here. So it's going to be a column. And it's going to be column in a small screen. It will take the 12. So it's going to take the 12 columns for the full size of the screen. That's from small screen. Starting from large screen, I want it to take 4 columns. And I'm going to use the card class, where I'm going to set the text inside this card to be dark. And the card itself, I will give it a shadow. As you can see, there is a shadow right here. Save. We don't see anything because we didn't add anything to the card yet. So this is my card. I will start with the card body. That will add some spacing inside the card, like the padding and the margin of the card. So I'm going to have the card body, where it's going to have an image, and this image coming from my images folder. And this is for the video. I believe it's the video, because watch session online. So it's going to be the video .png, and we can double check that right here. Yep, we get the video here, and we get this card. I'm going to also add, for this section, class padding 5, similar to all the classes that I have. So we're going to add padding 5. Now I have the image. Now I'm going to give it an alt text video image. Give it a class name of image fluid. And now it's going to be responsive image. Okay, after the image, we're going to have an h3, which is the title of this section. And we're going to give it a class card dash title, since we're inside a class. And the title here was watch session online. Paste it right here. There you go. Watch sessions online. Next, I'm going to have a paragraph with the card text and add some lorem or dummy text. Okay. Notice that everything is centered here. So let me add to the row text center. That will center everything inside my card. All the cards, doesn't matter which columns that you're going to have here, all the text will be centered. Let me add a link down right here after the paragraph, and I will style it PTN primary. I'm not going to go anywhere, and it will say read more. Read more. And if you go on a full screen, notice that in large screen, it will only take a size of 4 columns. So it will only be 1/3 of my screen. However, starting from large screen down, it will take the full width. Good, that's for the first card. Now I'm gonna go for the second card, where I'm gonna create another column so I can copy that down. I have a total of 3 cards. So I'm gonna copy it twice more. I'm gonna change the images. If you save, they're pretty much identical. Probably I wanna give each column here, because we have spacing between them. Let me help. I can control that right here from the row, put G4. That means the gap between them is with the size 4. Once you save G4, it will add a gap between them. For the second card item here, I will change this image. Go to my images folder, and it's talk to an advisor. So it's going to be the call image, call PNG, and we're going to change the title to talk to an advisor. Save. Here you go. We have this card, second card, and the last one, which is right here, going to have the title blog. And for the image, it's going to be the plug PNG. We can change that to the blog. And this one here, the alt text, change it to call.image or call image. If you save, and here we have our 3 cards, and this is how it looks in a large screen. So the next step, actually, this is not connected with my navigation bar. So here, questions is connected actually with the frequently asked questions. So these are our questions here. Question sections. Okay, so we're done everything here. Next step is creating this accordion where we have multiple questions and you get the answers from the accordion. Okay, I can minimize this section since I'm done from it. And also I can minimize this section. And just leave my navigation bar here because I'm going to need it. So I will start by creating the FAQ, or the frequently asked questions. And I will create a section that will have an ID FAQ section. And I want to connect my navigation bar where you have a link questions to that section. So you put FAQ section. And that's the section where I want to add my accordion. I want to make all the sections, notice that we're adding padding of size 5. So I want to do the same thing here. Add some padding with the size 5 from all the 4 corners. And I'm going to start by creating the accordion right here. We're going to create a container. We're going to add an h2 inside a container. h2, we're going to say frequently asked questions. Let's take a look. Good. I probably want to center that and give it some margin. So class text center, give it margin bottom of 4. Good. So I have my title here. Underneath the title of this heading level 2, I want to add my accordion. And as you remember from yesterday class, it's just a div with the class accordion. And with this accordion, notice that this type is flushed to the background. It don't have a border. And it's up to you. You want to have a border to the accordion or not, but I'm just going to stick to this type, which is accordion dash flush. Just doing that, you're not going to see anything in your DOM right here. We need to start. I'm going to give it an ID because I'm going to need it later. Questions. And I'm going to start listing my accordion items. So I'll have accordion dash item. And this is going to be for the first question. And the item should have a header and should have a body, right? Should have a body as well. For the header, you need accordion header. And the header, it's a button with a class accordion button. And we can be more explicit, make it a type button. And we're going to put the question, so we can copy one of these questions. Can inspect it. I can copy this text. Why should I choose Clarusway? There you go. We got the header. Why should I use Clarusway? And this is going to be the button. Now I want to set the body here, and this is going to be the collapsible part. So it should be have collapse, and then accordion collapse. And then here we're going to put the accordion dash body. And in the accordion body, we can copy the answer here. Learning new skills can feel, and whatever the answer you have here, you just copy it right here. Okay, so for this body, I have to give it an ID because I need to connect. If you go back here and you save this, if you click here, you're not going to see the body because this button is not connected with the body here. So you need to add an ID. I can call it question 1. And since I give it an ID, I get back to my button and I can use data PS target. I'm targeting the section with the ID question 1. Also, you need the data toggle type, and we're going to use the collapse type. And now let's give it a try. Here you go. You see the answer, and you can collapse it. Perfect. You have the data, PS, parent, and you can always set the parent element for the accordion, which is the questions. That will make sure only one item that can be expanded on a time. So that's for my first question, or my first item. So this is the item right here. And let's see how many questions I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So you can copy this item, and to make sure that you're not going to do a mistake, you can minimize it. And this is the section that I want to copy it. And you can copy it 4 more times. So pressing Alt, Shift, and arrow down. 1, 2, 3, 4. I copy it 4 times because the total we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need to copy it 1 more time. Here we go. We have the 6 questions. Notice that only one of them will open. We have an issue here because we have multiple IDs with the same ID. We need to edit each section. But I'm going to start doing that. So this is the first item. I already finished it. The second item here, have a accordion item. Now we're going to target question number 2. And for question number 2, we can get the text of it, where I can type, do I need to have prior coding and IT experience? And the question mark. And this is going to be the second answer here, and we can copy the answer. Save it. And since we finished with this item, I can minimize it, move to the next item. And this is going to point for the target, which is question 3. And I can change the ID here to question 3. And question number 3 is how much time does your program take each week? And you can copy the answer for that question and paste it right here. Next step, or the next item, can minimize this item. It's going to be question number 4. What are the tools I need before starting courses? And we can copy this. Paste it right here. Now we're moving to question number 5, which is going to be, is there a selection process or prerequisites for programs? And we can copy, paste it right here. And the final question we have here, which is question number 6, and change the ID 6. And is there a selection? Which is pretty much the same question here. But you can come up with any question. It's an FAQ. You put the most important questions. Selection process, or you can actually copy the title from here. So we have a duplicate question. Now let's test it. So I open right here, try to open the second one. I don't want that behavior. And also something wrong here. Let's go to Bootstrap 5 accordion. And let's see what we're doing wrong. So I want the accordion to look like this. You can open one at a time. Have the accordion header, the accordion example, the data PS collapse. You target data parent is added to the collapse. I see what I did wrong. I added the data PS parent to the bind, which it shouldn't. It should be to the collapse. So I can remove it from here. And I can add it right here. And for the last one here. And now we can take a look. Okay. Still showing all of them at the same time. This one having an issue, which is not this one, not this one, this one here, because I didn't change that to question number 4. Okay. That's the target data PS parent. There's the hashtag. That's the reason. Now we can do it one time. Select it here and press Control D to, actually we don't need it here. Right here. We can select it and press Control D to multi-edit. I will select all the 6 of them. I need to also remove it from here. Move it from here. Remove it from here. It's been removed. Go back to the first question. Control D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and add the hashtag in front of it. And that should make it work. Open. Here you go. And you have one of them open at a time. Beautiful. And again, everything is easy. You can debug what you do, mistakes, and it's going to happen as a developer. It's not you're going to do mistakes. It's how you can find your mistakes, because it will happen that you will do your mistakes a lot, and you just need to follow a logical way to find what is the mistake that you did and fix it. That's what makes you a better developer. Let me format my document, get it formatted, and this is a big section where I can minimize it because I'm just done from the FAQ. And now, just to make sure that everything is working, if I click questions, it should scroll me right down to this section here, questions. If I click in courses, it should take me to the courses section. Beautiful. Any questions so far? Okay, now let's work on the instructors section. And in the instruction section here, we just have a section with that main background that we created, or BG main, and you have multiple of cards, and we're going to use the Bootstrap icons to add the social media icons. Pretty straightforward section. And you can see it's responsive in medium screen. It will have 2 cards. In starting from small screen, it will have only 1 card, so it's going to be 2 cards per row. Then you have 4, so 4, 2, and finally 1 right here. So definitely I'm going to use the grid system. So after the FAQ, I will have the instructors section. Oh, Chris, you asking about the accordion. So as a functionality, or the as a JavaScript section, you have the accordion, and I'm flushing it to the background. I don't have a border. You have an ID for the accordion, the wrapping accordion. You start creating by single accordion item. Then you create a header for it, and this header will have a button. That's the clickable part. That's where you click in the header here to open it and close it. So you have the button, which is this button, and this button you put some text in it. This button have a class accordion button, and it should target the answer. And the answer here is the collapsible part. So we're going to create another div with the class collapse, and it's going to have the accordion collapse. You have to give it an ID, and this ID, that's what you're targeting. You're targeting this answer, because here I'm going to show the answer. The type of toggling, it's going to be the collapse, similar as the navigation bar. Then you have another div for the collapse, and you have the accordion body, which is the answer. To make sure that you have the answer for one question, one at a time, to have this type of accordion, you use the data PS parent. If you omit this one, in all of them, of course, not only this one, you can expand multiple accordions in the same time. This is the attribute that will make sure that you're only expanding one at a time, because you're referring back to the parent accordion here. And you just keep repeating the same process for every single question. Same classes. You can even copy one of this and just edit it the way that you want. Okay, so let's move to the instructors section, which is this section. Now for the instructions, or the instructors, I'm going to add a section with the ID instructors section. And I'll give it a classes p-5 and the pg to be main, because I want the main color, or that pinkish color here, as you can see. So the background, good. I will have a container inside it. I will have an h2 with the text center and say our instructors. Like that. You'll have it here. I want the text to be light. So not only text center, but text white. I can make it white, and margin bottom to be 5. There you go, our instructors. And then I can add a paragraph here. And let's put a class lead for the text and also center it. So text center and text white. Actually, don't need this margin bottom. I can add it here. And then I can say our instructors all have 5+ years working as web developers in the industry. Here you go. That's similar to this title here. And we're adding the margin bottom of 5 or size 5, which is going to be 3 rem. Now I'm going to start a row. And I will have the gap to be with the size 4. So you have the spacing between the cards right here. So you have a gap of 4. And I will start with every single column. I will start with the first card. And I want the first card to be in medium screen. So I'm specifying from the medium screen. That means anything below medium screen is going to be full width. So if you do column medium, I'm starting to specify from a medium screen. That's from the width of the screen is a medium screen. And I want it to be half of the screen, to be 6 columns. That means if it's less than the medium, it will be the full screen, which is taken the full width. Here we in the small screen, it will take 12. I'm specifying from medium, it will be half the screen. That's the medium screen here. That's the breakpoint. And in large screen, column in large screen, I can have 4 cards. So 12 divided by 4, it's going to be 3. So each card will take 3 columns. And that's how you can make it responsive in different breakpoints or different screens. I will have a card where the card will have a background light. So now if you go back, background light for my card. I don't have any content, but I have the card here and it's half of the screen because you're in a medium screen. You didn't hit the large screen yet, but once you hit the large screen, now you can, it's going to take 25% of your screen. Good. So I have my card that have a background light. I will add a shadow to it. So I get a shadow for my card, and I will have the card body, which will add some padding. Notice that you already get padding right away by adding the card body. And also I want to text center it. So all the text to be centered. Now, in the body, I'm going to add an image, and I'll get this image will have a source. Let's say an instructor. Let's add his name, John Doe. And I want to get an image from the web. So you can use this URL here, which is HTTPS. And I showed you that API yesterday, random user.me/API portraits. And I want to man, so you can access men, and you can get the first image, for example. And that will make sure that you get a person image, which is we have here. If you select 2.jpg, that's the second person, and it can have all go all the way to 100, I believe. No, there's no 100. Let's do 10. We have here 10, it's 20. Not sure what is the maximum, but you can test around. These are all men portraits. So also like the first person, let's say that he's going to be the instructor. And you have his image here. I want to give it a bunch of classes here. First, image fluid to make it responsive. And I want to make it circle. So I can do use rounded circle. That will make sure that the image will be circle. Here we go. We get the image as a circle. I want to add a margin to the bottom because after the image, I will start adding his name. So margin bottom 3. That will give me some spacing after the image. Now I have some space down here. Okay, after the image, I will have an H3. Give it a class of card title. Well, let's say John Doe, which is name. Okay, so that's the instructor name. And I'm going to have a paragraph with a class card text. I'm just going to add some dummy text as a description for this instructor. There you go. You get some description. Let me see how it looked like. Yep. Good. So that's pretty much similar. And at the end here, I want to add the social media icons. To add the social media icons, it's very simple. We going to add the first link here. It's not going to go anywhere. You can connect it with the social media, that's fine. But I need an icon here from Bootstrap. And as I told you that all the Bootstrap classes should start with a BI and then PI, whatever you want. PI, I want the Twitter. So BI-Twitter. And you'll notice that you should get the Twitter icon. It will be blue because all the links by default in the HTML, they take the blue color. So I can change the color by using text dark if I want a dark color. And see that dark. And I did a mistake. This should be centered, and to make it the center, I have to put it as a part of my card body. So it should be part card body because it's part of the body of the card, and you have the text center here. So it should be centered. So I have this Twitter right here, and it can control its size. So if I want to make it bigger, font size 1, notice that this is going to be bigger. Of course, I don't want it that big. Just want to show you that you can control the size of the images. After the Twitter, I will add another icon. Let's say after the Twitter, we have Facebook. So you put Facebook. Here we have Facebook. We want to add some spacing between them. So I can do spacing by simply MX1. That means margin from left and right, MX1. Be adding spacing. You will see like a dash here, but you can select all the links in your page, text decoration, none. Here, that's what remove the underline of the text. Now I can continue with the rest of the icons. I want to also show like the LinkedIn. And after the LinkedIn, we're going to have the Instagram. And you'll see that the Visual Studio Code helping you with the auto completion. And here's my card. But after that, nothing. That's pretty much for one card. And it's pretty responsive. That's for the first instructor. And I'm just going to repeat the process. You just copy the same card, whatever we created here, or this column, and you just change the data. You change the image, the name. So I can copy that down. I'm still inside the row. So you copy this. Since we have 4 instructors, 1, 2, 3, 4. For the second one, let's put a female. So I'm going to put women. And let's have the image number 1. And let's say Sally Smith. Here I have this card for Sally Smith. Next, I'm going to go to the next instructor. Let's say Mike or Adam Smith. And let's make him image number 2. So he's a man. And now let's add a woman again. Let's say Nancy Jones. There you go. So I have 4 instructors with each instructor have a card, and you have the social media for the instructor that you can connect with them. And it's pretty responsive. And now if you click on the instructors, we didn't connect that part yet, but the questions should take you to the FAQ. I need to connect that section for the instructors, copy that, go to my navigation right here where it says instructors, put the ID for that specific section. So let's give it a try. You go right here, click in the instructors, it should take you to the instructors section right away. Perfect. You have the questions, courses, and so on. Now let's work on the contact us section. Just gonna start it, and then we're gonna have gonna show you how you can use the map box to load an actual map. Because right now, to load like a map here. And then finally, we can have the footer and the functionality. If you click in this button, take you all the way. Actually, the functionality here is very simple. I'll show you that. Okay, but hopefully you have a good understanding of JavaScript. Actually, it's not a lot of JavaScript. We're actually going to use the library coming from the map box. Just should be easy. And I'm going to show you how you can read the documentation from Mapbox to have like an interactive. And you see, if you click on it, you'll have like a pop-up screen to have like an interactive maps inside your application as well. Okay, so go to the contact us. I need to create a new section here. Can minimize the instructors. Contact us. And for the contact us section, I'm going to add a section. I'm going to give it an ID, contact section. Similar to all sections, we're going to give it a class of P-5. And we're going to add the row because we want to divide it to 2 columns. We want to add a row with a gap of 4. And I'm going to have a column in medium screen. That's mean a small screen. It's not gonna take the full width. So in the small screen, it will take the full width, as you can see. Only starting from medium screen, it should take 1 column. medium screen. And I'm going to have an H2, let's say contact us. Get back right here, contact us. And let me put it in the center, or in the center, adding a class text center. Good. Since it's in small screen, it will take the full width. Only when you go to a medium screen, it didn't divide because I need another column here. Medium screen. So now we have two columns. As you can see, it divided to two columns, but once you go to small screen, take the full width. Perfect. So it says contact us here. After the contact us, we're going to start creating a list group. So we're going to create a UL and give it a class of list group. And we want it to be flushed list. So we can do list group flush. That means don't have a border surrounding it. And we want the text to be lead. And we're going to start with the list item, or the first item. It should have a class name of list group item. And for this item, I will have a span and say something like main location. And the reason I'm adding span because the main location, I want it to be bold. And if you remember, we have the font weight bold. And anything outside the span, going to be regular text. Let's say 125 Main Street, New York, and the zip code 0. There you go. So this is the main location. And here we're describing the main location. And this is the first item in my list group. So I'll stop right here. Let's take our second break and then we'll continue with this list items. And then we're gonna connect the Mapbox map with the interactive map and then finish the footer as well. Any question before we go break? Okay, so I'll see you in 2 minutes. Okay, guys, so we're going to continue. We are in the contact us section before the break. Right here, we did the first list item here, which is the main location. We want to show the main location, the enrollment's phone number, student phone number, the email that you can contact for the enrollment. And I have the rest of the list items here. So you can simply create another list item. Have to give it a class, list group item. Have my bold span, which is a span with a class font weight bold. And I want to say like enrollment phone number, enrollment phone. And I'm going to add a phone number here. Let's say 000, 3 zeros, and finally 4 zeros. If you save that, you should see the list item here, and notice that we're using a list group that is flushed to the background. Having another list item, give it a class list group item, have a span with the font weight to be bold, and say student phone. And student phone, you go 3 zeros, 3 zeros, and 4 zeros, or you can put any phone number here. And you will notice that you have the new item added right here. And the last list item, can add a list group item, have a span, font weight to be bold, and we're going to say enrollment email. And then we can do enrollment at Clarusway.com. Good. So this is for this column. The next column, I want to show a map. And to get the map, you see here the columns. Actually, I missed a container. We want to put it in a container to start. So I need a container here. And put everything here inside the container. And now it's going to start adding some spaces from left and right here. Now I want to show a map right here. And to add the map, you're going to go to the mapbox.com or yep. We have multiple of services for maps. We can go for the solution, automotive, products. You have like geocoding mainly when you enter an address, you're gonna get you back the longitude and latitude. But let me search for Mapbox CDN. And what I'm looking for, it's called GLJS. This is the library that I'm looking for. So GLJS, where you can actually access Mapbox, which is a regular JavaScript, as an adapter. We're not using the React, we're using regular JavaScript. So you can go to the API references here. Go to the map, examples. I want to go to the examples. Display a map on a web page. And notice here we have the map to show this map, and it's an interactive map. You can zoom in, zoom out. You'll have a code here. Notice inside the HTML, you have a div with the ID map. That's all. So we have a div with an ID map. This map, you have to give it some width and height. So you need to style it, and you need the following two imports, one style sheet, CSS, and one JavaScript file. So we need to import both of them. Next, you just need a token or access token, an API access token, and then you copy this code and that's it. Here, you put the center, the longitude, and the latitude, and what is the zooming level. So think about this as a configurations for your map. The container is map, which is a reference of your ID right here. Then you leave the style as is. We want it to look like that style. You're adding the longitude and latitude of the initial map that will show and the zooming level. Okay, so looks like I'm gonna need this the link and the script. So I can add them to my head right here. Map box. CDN. And I can add the fear here. Good. So after I added the map box, I can minimize my head. I need an ID down there in this section of my column. I will have a div with the ID of map. And I need to create a simple JavaScript file. Either you need to create a JavaScript file or you can add the script right here. It's up to you. I'm just going to create an external JavaScript file. I'm going to call it main.javascript. And I need to link the JavaScript file in my head as well. And it's very important that you link it after the script from the map box. So we're going to add a script where the source is going to be the index.js. And also I will defer it because this is going to be asynchronous. You want to load this file after this file. Good. So we're done from the setup. Now, inside the style, you can have the map. We need to set the height for it to be 100% of its container, which is the column, and the width to be 100% of its container. And I can add a border radius of, let's say, 10 pixel to have like a rounded border for my map. And it's an ID, not a class. Okay, and now all you need to do just from the documentation here, it's called mapbox GL. You put your token and you can copy this code and you paste it here. Now missing only the token. And I think I have, let me close this and log in with my account. Map box GL.js. And notice that I already get logged in. I can go to my account. To create an account is very simple. You just provide your name, email, and so on. And this is the API key that I need. And I can copy this API key. So you go to your dashboard, you have your token. This is my token. I have it almost 3 years ago. Copy it. And I can paste the token here as a string. Since I have the token, I can view the map, not a big deal. If I save that, and I get back here and open it with the live server, just make sure that the map is loaded and you see that we have a map right here. Perfect. Now this map, it's somewhere in Europe, I believe. It's actually in Philadelphia. I wanted to show New York for default, and I want to control the zooming level. If you go to Maps, Google Maps. You can select any point, let's say right here. You click on it to give you the longitude and latitude. You click on it. You can copy this longitude and latitude. And I want that to be the center of my map. They flip it here. It's the latitude and the longitude. So I can paste this number. So you put this number first, which is the longitude, and then the latitude. And this is the coordinates for New York City, right middle of Manhattan. And if I get back to my page, notice that I have the New York City, but I'm zoomed out. So I need to zoom in manually. But if I want to zoom in programmatically, I can increase this number to, let's say, 14. And if I refresh my page, notice that automatically you're zoomed in. You can zoom out. So this is the zooming level for your map. And you can see it's very simple. You don't have to do anything. The code is provided to you from the documentation. Now, I want to add a pointer or a logo similar to this. Let me try. Like a marker for the map. So here we have a marker. See this marker? I want to add this marker. Not a big deal. You get back to the documentation and you search for it. That's the easiest way. Box, GL, GS. And you go to the examples. And one of the examples is adding a marker. Adding a marker using a place name. Can go to this, displaying a map on a web page. Okay, let's see if there's adding a marker here. No. We're going to get to this, which is adding a pop-up and a click. I would like to do that as well. You can create a 3 model. You can add a geocoder, which are going to give you the address based on the coordinates. There are so many tools. Add a custom icons and a marker. You can add like an image. I think that's what we're looking for. Add a default marker to web map. So we're going to add a default marker. This is the default marker. Okay, so notice that you have this marker and this marker. I want to add the marker. And you get down here, it tells you to create a marker and add it to your map. It's very simple. Using the constructor new mapbox.marker, and that will create a marker for you, which is going to be marker 1. Then you do set longitude and latitude of that marker, and then you add it to your map. And you already have a reference to your map. Very straightforward. So I can copy that, and you can change the color and the rotation of the marker if you want. So I want to add a marker. Let me format this. This is my variable map. I'm going to paste my code here. This is, you can call it whatever you want, marker 1. So you access this map box GL, and this is provided to you since you're using the CDN. And we're creating a new marker. Here we're creating a new map. It's a method. And you set the latitude and the longitude, and I want the same latitude and longitude that I have for my center of my screen. And then I'm going to add it to my map. So you have the method here, add to the map, which is this map. Getting back to my page, notice that I have this marker. I can change its color. So color, let's make it red. And you have a red marker right here. Good. Now I want to add a pop-up window when I click in this marker. So when I click in it, right now nothing show up, just the map interactive. But when I click on it, show like a tooltip for that marker. They call it pop-up. So you can go back to the example, and that's what I want. Display a pop-up on a click. Click right here. You click, it showed this pop-up screen. Okay, and you can close it. And to do that, no. There you go. Display a pop-up. This is the one that I'm looking for. Close. You need to create a pop-up which can take here. Attach a pop-up to a marker instant. That's what we want. This is our marker. You click in the marker, then it cleared. To do that, first you need to create the pop-up by using new mapbox gl.popup, and you can control the offset. Then you can set its text, whatever text you want to put in this pop-up. And there is another method called set HTML. If you want to add an HTML, you create your pop-up. Once you create it, it's not going to show up by default. So let's create one. Copy this code. So I will have a pop-up. Let's keep the offsets fine. And instead of HTML, I will a text. I will have set HTML, and I can enter HTML here. I can use a backtext to put an H6, for example, and close my H6. So I have a heading of level 6. I can say Main Street, New York, 1110, like the zip code. And after the H6, I will have a paragraph. And the reason I'm using backtext, because backtext support multi-line for a string. So I'm going to have a paragraph. Close my paragraph. And then I will have a phone number. And this phone number, let's say 123 456 7890. And now I created my pop-up. If you create a pop-up, it just stored in the variable. You're not going to do anything with it. Even you're not going to see it reflected in your page. In order to attach this pop-up to the marker that we created here, which is marker 1, before we add it to the map, we can use a method set pop up. And in that case, I have to put the pop-up before the marker. And we pass the pop-up here. So we're creating the marker, and we set a pop-up for that marker before we actually load it to the page. Let's give it a try. Because it's missing the dot here. Now, if you click on it, you see here, we have Main Street, New York, phone number, and you have the pop-up screen, and you can close it. Okay. Perfect. So we was able to dynamically add this map. It's not that hard to add it. Just you see that most of what I get it from Mapbox, all this code I didn't write a single line and just copy and paste it and customize it. So you don't need to know how it's internally to work. It just provides you with this constructor Mapbox gl.map, mapbox.popup, and mapbox.marker. And you can chain multiple methods to them, like set the longitude and latitude, set popup, and add to the map. Okay. Any question about the map or anything that confuse you here? Okay. Let's close that. And the next step is actually adding a footer. Every web page should have a footer at the bottom. So I'm getting back to, also let's make sure that we connected the contact us section with our navigation. Contact section. And we're done from the contact us section. And finally, we need to add the footer. And to add the footer, it's going to be very simple, pretty straightforward footer. Just need a footer element. And for the footer element, I'm going to give it a bunch of classes. Padding 5 to add padding. The background, I will make it dark. And the text is going to be white. And I'm going to center the text in the middle of the screen. Then I'm going to add a container. I'm going to have a paragraph with the class lead. I can say copy, right. And I want the entity for copyright. In HTML, you can have entities like the copyright symbol by using all the entities start with ampersand and the end with a semicolon, and you can have copy entity or euro symbol, or there is multiple symbols that you can use. But I want the copyright symbol entity, and what's identified that this is an entity, the ampersand and the semicolon. So I want the copyright symbol here, and then 2023 Clarusway bootcamp. If you save that, you should have our footer right now. There you go. And this is with the red marker. This is the one that we have that we're trying to mimic. And we have a nice footer at the bottom. Now we're going to have the functionality of this arrow that when you click on it, take you to the top of the screen. Okay. Let's add this arrow and add the functionality to it. It's simply a link, a clickable link. So we can add the link right here after the footer. It doesn't matter where you're going to add it. I'm going to make it position fixed, and I'm going to fix it to the bottom right of my screen. I can actually add it right here inside the body, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the flow of my page since I'm going to position it as fixed. So it's a link that should take us to nowhere, and that's what reload the page. And that's why it's going to take you all the way up to the screen or to the beginning of the page. I'll give it a bunch of classes. I want to position it fixed. The bottom to be 0 and the end to be 0. And I have a padding 5. I'm going to give it an ID arrow up. And now I'm going to add an icon inside it with a class pi dash arrow up. And you see here, you have arrow up circle fill. We have arrow up square fill, and that's the one that I'm going to use. I want to change the color of the icon to be green. That's text success. When you're dealing with icons, it's the color property. So it's the text color, not the background color. And I want to show it big so I can control its size as an H1. There you go. I have it. I have it right here. If you click on it, it should take you to the beginning of the screen. But I have a problem that it shouldn't appear in the beginning of the screen. It's only should appear when I start scrolling. And let's say, get to the middle of the screen right here. That's when it should appear. And to do that functionality, you need a little bit JavaScript skill. So we want to listen when the user scroll on the page. So I can add here. I will listen not to the body, not to the document, but for the window. And I will add an event listener for the user when he scroll. And when he scroll, I want to execute a function. And you can add here the event object. And let's print this dot scroll y. And this here is referring to the event. Actually, let me show you this. Event dot target. Event target is actually the window object. So whenever, actually not target, my bad. It's the current target. The current target is a reference to the element that you add the event listener to, which is the window, which should be similar that you're adding to the window scroll y. So let me show you. Let's load this and let's see what is the value. So I'm in the beginning of the page. I'm not scrolling. See here, it's showing 2 because I didn't scroll. But once I start scrolling my screen, showing 0. Let me put back this. Showing 0. I think I know what is the reason. Because I'm in the responsive screen. I get to the full screen. Okay. Scroll. Not screen. It's the scroll y-axis, not the screen. And it's attached to the window. So let's try it now with the window. Here you go. If you go up, the number here, you're not scrolling at all. You're in the beginning. You start scrolling down. The number increase as you go all the way down at the end of the page. You're scrolled that X amount of pixels. So now I can use that number that attached to the window because I'm listening when the user scroll. And now, for example, when he reached to 500, which is about here, that's when I want to show this icon. And to do that, now you need to check this value. And the window here, you can reference it with this keyword if you want. You can even have just scroll y. There, you see, scroll y. Because the window object is like the most global object in the DOM. So I can have an if statement. If the scroll y is less than 500, that's how I want to hide the arrow link. Else, if it's bigger, if the user already scrolled more than 500, that's what I want to show the arrow link. And it's very simple to hide an element and show it. I give it here an ID, arrow up. So I can get this element from my document. You access the document, get element by ID, and you target this arrow up. And you can access its style by using the style object, and you want to display it, and you want to hide it, so you're going to make the display to be none. The opposite, what are we going to do right here, where we're going to display it as a block. Again, if you don't understand this code, feel free to ask questions. Just you adding an event listener, you listen to whatever the user are doing in the window object, and you listen when the user scroll inside the screen. When he scroll, you get the scroll Y value because you want to scroll vertically. And if he's less than the 500, you want to hide this icon. If he's scrolling down in the screen more than 500, you want to show the icon. And now, if you go to the top of the page, let me refresh. Let me close everything. It's actually showing here. Scroll Y. Yep, it's arrow up, dash up. That's the ID. Here we go. It's hidden. You scroll down, you pass the 500, it will start to show. Scroll all the way up, click in contact, it will take you to the contact section. And I have something bothering me that we already set this navbar to be fixed, but it looks like it's not fixed. Let's see why. The index. Have an extra fixed stop. There we go, we have it to fixed stop. But when you add the fixed stop, it will be taken from the layout. Yep, thank you, Chris. I have a problem here because now this navigation bar isn't top of my page, but this is easy fix. I can push my page down. So after this nav bar here, I can add like a dummy div here. That would be the easiest option here. So I can add a spacer, height of the nav bar. And I can get the height of the navigation bar if you select the navigation bar. So this navigation bar here, and you can set the computed value. And you see that the height is around 75 pixels. Okay, so this is the height of my navigation bar. And I create a div here where the style to be height 75 pixels. So it's an empty div that have the height that will push everything 75 pixel down since I set this nav bar to be fixed stop. Here we go. Everything back to the normal. And now we can click, we get back to the top screen. Everything is working fine. You can navigate to different sections. It's a one page, and this should take you to the home page right here. Okay, so let's actually take it a little bit further and add there is so many stuff that we can do for this newsletter. Let's the user enter his email and click submit. And once he clicks submit, we can show like a modal showing the user, like, thank you for, either you want to do a modal, you can do alert, but we can show like a modal here saying, thank you for signing up with us. So that's something we can do as well. So to do that, let's visit Bootstrap modal. And in that case, this button here is going to be our modal trigger. Similar that you click in this button, it will show the model. If you remember, I can copy this model code. And it doesn't matter where you add it. So I can add it at the end of my page modal. So I have modal fade, and I'm going to say ID here, use letter model. You don't need the index, you don't need the role. This is all for screen readers. And I don't need to set the role here. I will have a header, and this header, I don't need even an ID here for this header. And for the model title, sign up. Successfully. Something like that. And we have the button, dismissible button. Can remove the area. That's for screen readers. And this panel also, I don't need it. And for my model body, I'm just going to have paragraph with the text center dot lead. Thank you for subscribing to our newsletter, something like that. And then you can have a footer where you can close. We don't need to change, or you can actually have another dummy button and say unsubscribe or something like that. And you can here have, instead of primary, danger. And let's do that close to be primary. Now I have this model. It's not going to appear by default. I have an ID for it. And if you read back from the documentation, your button should be have a data toggle as a model and data target. So we are targeting the submit button from the newsletter, which is this button right here. So data PS toggle, targeting model. Model and data PS target. Oops. Use letter model. Okay. If you click on it, even if you didn't provide the email, it should work. It should show the model. And that's why you need the JavaScript actually to check the email, validate the email, and make sure that the user can click this button after he entered the email. But for now, we're just working with the UI, not the functionality. If I click on it, I should see the model. I have a problem here with this button, but I can close it here. Let me fix that real quick. I think it's close PTN, not just close. So for, oh, this pen is just actually showing the icon. So because I'm not showing anything in it. So get back, subscribe. Here we go. I don't have the functionality. So click here. PTN bind close. Bind class close. Dismiss the model. I don't need this. Okay, let's see what's going on. First of all, it's not styled correctly. There is something wrong with the styling. This is not styled similar to this bind. So the class close here is not taking effect. Let's see if I have inspect. Got no errors. What about this bind close? That it dismissed the model. However, it gets dismissed when you click anywhere outside. Oh, I'm in version 4. Let me make sure that I'm version 5. Boot. That's why I know that it's not the close, it's the wrong class. Bootstrap 5 model. Make sure that you're in correct. There we go. It's PTN close. That's why. That's what made the change. Data PS dismiss. So data PS dismiss. Data PS dismiss. And should be PTN close. Okay, that should fix the issue here. So I can subscribe. Thank you for subscribing to our newsletter. Can close this model. Good. Another thing that we can add a model, about read more, you can add a model here. You can add a carousel as instead of a hero where you can show like coding images. Actually, let's add the carousel here. A section for the carousel. That would be nice. So we can implement the carousel as well. So I can go here, get a carousel, and I'm interested in a carousel. You go down here, carousel with caption. So again, and instead of typing everything from the scratch, you can copy this section and you can just edit it. I can go over here after the navigation bar and after my spacing before the showcase, I want to show the carousel section. Gonna paste it right here. Good. I don't think I need this one because you see the data PS target connect to it. So I can say main carousel, main carousel. Main carousel. Main carousel. The data PS right carousel. Now I'm going to have my indicators, and indicators are 3 binds. PS target, detargeting the main carousel, 0, 1, 2. The first will be active by default. I can remove this here. These are the 3 binds for the indicators. The first one will be by default active. Good. For the inner, where I define my carousel, I have the first item here where I can adding some images. Let's add some images from Unsplash. coding. This is look like a nice image. I can copy the image address. So this is going to be first image. Coding. And I'm going to have section or the caption, HTML and CSS classes. Beginner friendly classes. You can add like a lorem text, dummy text. For the second image, you can look for tutor. You can get this image. Talk to job advisor. And we have some lorem. And the last image. They are so big. Probably we're going to reduce that, the size for them. Live session. That's DG session. Computer or mobile phone. Copy the image address. And mobile phone development. And we can add some lorem. Okay. Now for this section, we're going to have the main carousel. And I can go to my style. Set the height. Let's say 50% view height. In carousel. Sorry, gotta sneeze. This is the carousel, and you can see the image is so big. You can do something like actually not limiting this carousel itself. You need the images that inside it. So I can target the images, and I can set max height to be 50 view height. There you go. So you have a carousel, and you have the images inside here. You can fix, it will look like the images are stretched. You can fix that by doing the object fit, and you want the images to be cover this area. There we go. Probably you want to add an overlay for the image. This arrow is not working. The arrows, let's check the arrow down here. Previous, because we changed the carousel ID. So we have to change it down here. Remove this. Can remove this as well, and remove all the visual hidden spans. I think Bootstrap utility. Okay. I can add a class here. And the class that I want to position it relative. Relative. Yep. And I'm going to select that one. I'm just trying to add an overlay. And I'm going to use the after sudo class. And I'll set the content that I want to add after nothing. And I want to set the position to be absolute, top 0, bottom, left 0. Width 100%, height 100%, background to be RGPA 0.4. And that should add an overlay to my images. Here we go, make the images darker. But the text also, it's adding the overlay over the text. So I can do Z index -1. Now it's gonna put it behind there. Make it, we're adding this shade overlay, but it's affecting the text as well because the text is becoming part of the image. Let me think about this. We can simply select the carousel caption. Make Z index, make it come in front of everything by adding Z index to be 100. Oh, just one. There you go. It's working. It just this is not showing in a small screen. And now you can control the opacity here, but let's say 9. That's going to be really dark background, which is like dark and overlay over the images. You can make it 50% transparent, which is really nice here. Again, as you can see, Bootstrap is great, but sometimes you want to overwrite stuff with CSS to overwrite some of the functionality. And CSS, it's skill by itself, but it's Bootstrap saved you a lot of time. We was able to create this full application. Imagine that we have to write every single element here by using CSS. That will probably going to take more than the 3-hour class here. Okay. You have the models. You have the carousel functionality. You have all the utility functions like the flex, the display utility functions. You get out of the box cards, navigation bars, accordions, and also you learn how you can use a little bit of JavaScript, how you can actually use an interactive maps. So I'll stop right here and take any question that you probably guys have. Okay, if no questions, I'll post the code that we developed today in the class GitHub repository, and you will have it available. Feel free to play around with the code, try to break it, try to customize it, and that's how you're going to learn. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and open to these types of mini boot camps. Corner, yes, we do mini boot camps regularly, but it depends the topics. Like previously we did it the HTML, CSS, and now we doing Bootstrap. So probably the next one most likely will be Bootstrap. I'm not 100%. Sure, you're welcome, Chris, anytime. I'm glad that you find this helpful. Okay, have a good night, everyone.